September 23, 2010, sunset over Victoria Harbor, Hong Kong. Countless tourists rushed aboard luxury ships, eagerly awaiting an exciting night of lavish gambling on international waters. Among them was a couple who looked calm, Y and Yang Wenquan. They weren't like tourists looking for luck at the casino, but no one expected this trip will be Yang's last journey. Yang Wenquan, a respected university lecturer, has a seemingly stable life. But few people know that her marriage has been broken since 2008. Her ex-husband, Y, a high-ranking official in Guangzhou, still controlled every aspect of her life, even after they divorced. Yan once confided to friends that if she left Y completely, she might have to suffer the same fate as his sister, mysteriously murdered. But no one thought that those words would become a fateful prophecy. This time, Y suggested a trip to Hong Kong. For Yang's friends, this is one strange change. Y is famous as a person extremely stingy, to the point of avoiding paying a bus ticket worth just $3. So why did he generously invite his ex-wife out, even on a luxury yacht? It seems that Yang believed in Y's change, a belief that cost her life. Around 6 a.m. on September 24th, while the ship was floating in international waters, a Myanmar sailor passed by the 7th floor deck. He saw Y and Yang chatting. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But just an hour later, at approx 7 a.m., a female tourist stepped out onto the deck to breathe fresh air. What she witnessed made her shiver. Yang Wenquan collapsed on the deck, his body leaning toward the railing. Y was grabbing her head and shoulders, holding her down hard. She screamed for help. Security staff came running, but it was too late. Yang disappeared in the middle of the ocean. The only trace left is streaks of blood on deck and scratches on Y's hand. When questioned, Y panicked and clutched his stomach. Pretend to have a stomachache, tried to hide in a private room. But the truth cannot be hidden for long. In just 1 hour, Yang Wenquan's body was found floating in the sea. Autopsy results revealed a scary truth. Before being thrown into the sea, Yang was brutally beaten, with over 10 bruises on the head, a fractured skull, and a broken arm. Her wrists had signs of being squeezed, proving her tried to struggle before being murdered. She was still alive when she was thrown into the sea, but could not save himself. Hong Kong police quickly arrested Y. He coldly offered an excuse cause outrage. She committed suicide because she lost money. But there's a big problem. Security cameras on the ship showed that Yang and Y had never entered the casino. Y's testimony quickly collapsed. Yang's friends believed this murder in Lan. It wasn't spontaneous. It was a premeditated plan. Yang planned to complete the transfer of his apartment after the holidays. If that happens, Y will lose control of assets, something a greedy person like him cannot accept. Perhaps Y planned to kill his ex-wife even before the trip began. If there were no witnesses on board, the case would likely be dismissed, a mysterious disappearance at sea. But fortunately, the truth cannot be buried. November 2011, after a lengthy trial more than 2 weeks, Y was convicted life imprisonment for murder. But justice came too late for Yang Wenquan. She believed that Y could change. She chose to forgive. And finally, mispay with life. Yang Wenquan could have had a new life. She was divorced, trying to regain her autonomy, ready to leave her controlling marriage. But in the end, she was brutally murdered by the man she once trusted. Yang's death was not an accident, nor a suicide, as her killer tried to pretend. This was a carefully planned murder. But the worst? Even with witnesses, surveillance cameras, and forensic evidence, justice still does not come easily to Yang. If this case happened in the US, the FBI would immediately get involved. The scene will be strictly guarded, evidence will be professionally collected, and the murderer will not be able to hide from the law. But on that yacht, in international waters, everything was different. From the beginning, the Hong Kong police investigation was full of serious errors. The scene was disturbed. Immediately after Yan is pushed into the sea, the yacht still continues to operate as if nothing happened. Passengers still have fun, employees still work, while a woman was just murdered on the train. Delay in reaction. Witnesses saw Yang being attacked 7 a.m., but maritime police were only notified after more than an hour. That precious time could have been used by the killer to erase their traces. Important evidence is ignored. Y has scratches on his hands, blood on the deck, but no forensic testing was immediately performed. Surveillance cameras recorded Y's behavior, but video analysis was slow and was not immediately made public. If this were a murder in the US, as soon as there were signs of murder, the entire ship would be blockaded. No one can leave until the investigation is complete. But instead, Y are still allowed to freely return to the room, pretending to have a stomachache to avoid responsibility. When questioned by police, Y gave a statement completely absurd. She committed suicide because she lost money. But what he didn't expect was security cameras on the ship exposed this lie. Which never been to a casino. There was no debt, no signs of desperation. Even Yang's friends affirmed her have never been addicted to gambling. She is a university lecturer, an independent and strong woman. She cannot give up life in such a senseless way. When the first lie doesn't work, Y changed to another story. I just tried to pull her back, but she fell down. But if that's true, why is there on deck? Marks of beatings, bloodstains, and scratches. Why does Y have a clenched handprint on Yang's wrist? He didn't try to save Yang. He tried to kill her. Y thought he could get away with it. He thought that, in international waters, no one can touch him. But he was wrong. Hong Kong police have continued to investigate, and irrefutable evidence brought him to justice. Witness testimony. Someone saw Y's behavior with their own eyes. Forensic evidence. Yang's injuries could not have come from a fall. She was assaulted before being thrown into the sea. Y's unusual behavior. He doesn't have an ounce of sadness or remorse. The only thing he cares about is the property he is about to lose. In November 2011, after a lengthy trial more than 2 weeks, Y was sentenced to life in prison for murder. But this sentence cannot give Yang his life back. Yang Wenquan's story is more than just a simple murder. It is a warning bell about domestic violence, financial control, and delays in justice. What can we do to prevent similar tragedies? Support those who are financially controlled. If you know someone who is financially controlling in a toxic relationship, help them learn about their rights. Speak up if you see signs of domestic violence. Ask the justice system to do better. No one should be murdered without a fair investigation. We need faster and more rigorous investigation processes, especially in international maritime murder cases. The police must be responsible if they don't act quickly enough to stop the crime. Spread this story. Justice can only be served by everyone know the truth. Please share Yang's story. Don't let her death be forgotten. Yang Wenquan should have had a future, but she was deprived of her right to life. Don't let anyone else fall into the same situation as you. If you know someone is in danger, don't hesitate to help. Speak up. Let's demand justice. After Y's trial, many believed that justice had been served. He was sentenced to life in prison and had to pay the price for his brutal crime. But there is one question that remains unanswered. Why is he so confident? Why did he think he could get away with it? The answer lies in the system of power and manipulation that Y took advantage of. In America, when a murder occurs, we believe that the law will investigate in a transparent manner, that no one can bribe or manipulate the outcome. But in China and Hong Kong, things are not so simple. Y is not just a murderer. He is a high-ranking official in Guangzhou. With his position, he has power, connections, and most importantly, he knows how to manipulate the system to protect himself. From the beginning, he tried to control the investigation. When discovered on deck with blood stains on hands, him appear calm, feigning a stomachache to avoid immediate interrogation. When the police asked about the case, he constantly changing statements, trying to sow doubt into the cause of Yang's death. As the evidence against him became clearer, he tried to take advantage of his political connections to put pressure on the trial process. Without international public attention, would Y really have been convicted? Or will this case be buried, like many other cases that the powerful can cover up? The trial lasted more than 2 weeks, but there are too many unusual things. Y changed his testimony constantly. Initially, he declared Yang committed suicide because of losing money. But surveillance video proves they never entered the casino. Then, he said Yang accidentally fell off the train while they argue, but forensic evidence points to her was brutally beaten before falling into the sea. Witnesses were threatened. A female tourist saw Y attack Yang with her own eyes. But right before the trial, Miss suddenly withdrew his testimony, claimed that she was unsure of what she saw. Did anyone put pressure on her? Yang's family was ignored. In America, the victim's family has the right to participate in the trial process and have a voice in demanding justice. But in this trial, the Yang family, almost eliminated from the trial process, was not provided with complete information about the case. These raise a big question. If Y had not been arrested on the ship, would he have ever been held responsible? Y committed a crime. The evidence against him is too obvious, but he still has a chance to avoid responsibility because of him have money and power. Justice should not be a privilege reserved only for the powerful. If this case happened in America, prosecutors would never accept such an absurd defense. The court will ensure there is no outside interference, and the victim's family will have the right to know all the facts. But here, justice had to fight to survive. 1. Require transparency in the judicial system. Justice cannot be influenced by power or money. We need put pressure on international organizations demanding transparency in cases showing signs of cover-up. 2. Witness protection. Without witnesses, justice cannot be served. We need to make sure that anyone who dares to speak up is protected from intimidation and retaliation. 3. Share this story. The more people know about this case, it is even less likely that people like Y will be able to abuse the system to get away with it. Justice cannot be bought or sold. Y thought he could get away with it. He believes that, with his power, he can manipulate the system and continue to live freely. But he was wrong. Even if justice comes late, but at least Yan Wenquan did not die in silence. We cannot let those with power manipulate justice. If we don't speak up, there will be more victims. And next time, maybe no one will find out the truth. Please share this story. Let's demand justice. Y had money, power, and connections that helped him believe he could get away with it. But in the end, the truth still cannot be hidden. After many changes in testimony, after attempts to intimidate witnesses and manipulate the investigation, Y still had to face justice at the Hong Kong High Court. The trial lasted more than 2 weeks, and the whole world watched, waiting to see if the justice system actually worked. But will justice prevail? Or will Y use his power and money to continue to get away with it? When the trial began in late September 2011, the prosecutor presented a series of irrefutable evidence, witness testimony. Although one witness initially recanted due to pressure, there were still others who dared to speak out. A female tourist witnessed Y attack Yang with her own eyes. Forensic evidence, autopsy results, completely refute Y's testimony. Yang didn't die immediately. She was brutally beaten before being thrown into the sea. Surveillance video, camera on board, prove that Yang has never been to a casino, showing that Y's testimony about losing money and committing suicide was a complete lie. Piece by piece, the truth has been revealed, and the final picture is a cold-blooded, carefully planned murder. When cornered, Y changed tactics. He abandoned the Yang committed suicide story and switched to a new excuse. I didn't mean to kill her. We had an argument, she was angry, so she tried to jump into the ocean. I just tried to stop her, but I was too panicked and accidentally pushed her down. But this testimony, nor can it stand up to the evidence. If Y was just trying to pull Yang back, why she had more than 10 serious injuries on her head and body? If it's just one accident, why did he pretended to have a stomachache to avoid interrogation immediately after being discovered? And most importantly, if he was really panicked because his wife fell into the sea, why didn't he call to report immediately but return to the room as if nothing happened? He couldn't answer. On November 10, 2011, the jury officially sentenced. Y was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. The verdict rang out in the courtroom as an end to Y's plans. But for those who have followed this case, the verdict is not just for one individual. It is a victory of justice over power and money. No matter how many connections he has, how much power he has, in the end, the truth still wins. But is this sentence really enough? Continue to demand transparency in the judicial system. Y was convicted, but if this case had not received media and public attention, would he have ever been convicted? We need to ask international organizations to monitor cases showing signs of cover-up, protect other victims of domestic violence. Yang Wenquan is not the only one who has fallen into a financially and mentally controlling relationship. If you know someone who is being abused, don't be silent. Help them find a way out before it's too late. Make sure Y never receives leniency. In 2014, he tried to appeal. If we don't continue to follow the case, could he abuse the system to find a way to reduce his sentence? Justice must be enforced to the end. There's no escape for the murderer. Yang Wenquan lost his life because he believed that Y could change. But she didn't get a second chance. We cannot let this happen again. If you believe that justice cannot be manipulated by power and money, please share this story. Don't let people like Y continue to take advantage of the system to get away with it. Justice can only prevail if we never stop fighting. Y was sentenced to life in prison. Justice finally wins. But is that really the end? Not long after the case closed, people began to look back at similar incidents. Strange deaths at sea that no one was able to explain it, no one was convicted, and no one really got to the bottom of it. A haunting question appears. How many people died like Yang Wenquan that we never knew about? Right after Yang's case, a series of other suspicious deaths continued to occur on Asian cruise ships and resorts, especially in Koh Tao, Thailand, which is known as the Death Island. Nick Pearson, 2014, a British tourist, found drowned at the foot of the hotel. His family requested an investigation, but the police concluded accident without evidence. Dimitri Pavs, 2015, a French tourist discovered hanged with his hands tied behind his back. Police claim it is suicide without any further investigation. Christina Ansley, 2015, another British tourist, died in his hotel room. When the family requested toxicology tests, police said they lost the test sample. These cases all exist a common point. The victims were all foreign tourists. The police concluded too quickly without fully investigating. No one was arrested, no one was charged. Is this just a series of accidents? Or is there a certain truth being hidden? The truth is, there is a system that is protecting murderers. Local governments fear the impact on tourism. They don't want to publicize the murders because that could reduce the number of tourists, affecting the economy. Those with power can bribe justice. In many places, money can obscure the truth, just like how Y tried to get away with his crime. Those who dare to speak up are threatened. The witness of the Yang case had to retract his testimony out of fear. How many others are also forced to stay silent? If we do nothing, there will be many more victims. 1. Put pressure on Western governments. The US and UK must demand thorough investigations into the suspicious deaths of their citizens abroad. We need to demand transparency in the international justice system. 2. Warning to tourists. If a place has a history of unsolved mysteries, we must speak out. Please share this story to warn friends and relatives before they go to risky places. 3. Don't let these cases be forgotten. Yang Wenquan deserves justice. So did Nick, Dimitri, Christina, and the other victims. Speak up. Please share this story. Don't let justice be buried under the waves of silence. Y was convicted, but what about other victims? How many mysterious deaths remain unsolved? Imagine if this was someone you loved, a child, a friend, a relative, who was murdered abroad, and the local authorities just call it an accident. No investigation, no arrest of suspects, no justice. Can you accept that? The sad truth is, this is still happening. If we don't speak up, if we allow cases like this to be forgotten, we are helping murderers. If no one says anything, those in power will continue to cover up the truth. If no one takes action, many innocent people will continue to be harmed. If no one cares, justice will forever only be for those with money and power. We cannot let that happen. 1. Put pressure on the US government. The US government needs to hold countries with a history of covering up crimes accountable. We need laws that protect American citizens when traveling internationally. 2. Don't let these cases be forgotten. Yang Wenquan, Nick Pearson, Dimitri Pavs, Christina Ansley, they all deserve justice. Please continue to share their stories. Keep the truth alive. 3. Warning to visitors. Please tell everyone dangerous locations, places where the justice system does not protect tourists. Don't let anyone else become a victim due to lack of information. We can't save Yang, but we can prevent the next tragedy. Speak up. Take action. Let's demand justice. Yan Wenquan did not deserve to die. She tried to escape her controlling marriage, but ended up becoming victim of a system that failed to protect her. But Yang is not the only one. How many others have had their lives taken without ever receiving justice? How many families have had to accept a superficial explanation, an investigation report lacking transparency, a manipulated trial? We can't change the past, but we can change the future. No one should travel without fear for their safety. No one should be murdered without someone fighting for their justice. No one should be able to use money and power to get away with it. We must continue to speak up, must continue to demand the truth, must continue to fight. Otherwise, there will be many more victims, and by then, will anyone fight for them?